when the recording is on.
More order.
Okay, so let's start our roundtable. First of all, thank you very much for all of you for being here. So this, for the people that are seeing us on YouTube, will be a roundtable centered around discussion on experiential learning. So my name is Maria Serodio. I'm the current Vice President of Education at ESTIEM, and I'll be the one facilitating the sessions and the questions. For those that are not so familiar with the topic, experiential learning methodologies are used to improve the learning experience of the students by engaging them in hands-on experiences, and also by promoting reflections. So through the experience that they gather, students are better able to connect the theories and the knowledge that they are learning in the classrooms with real-life situations. So for this roundtable, we have present two professors from EPIEM, so Christian and Karina, and we also have Corinne from the company Inchange. So I would invite you all to present yourselves. I don't know who wants to go first. Maybe we can start with Karina.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Karina Pimentel. I'm from Portugal. I'm from the University of Aveiro. I'm an industrial engineer, and I teach at my university industrial engineering. And besides that, I'm the director of our integrated master degree in industrial engineering and management. I also belong to the driving group of the European EPIEM network, and during my experience, I have had also the opportunity to be engaged with ESTIEM and with ESTIEM activities. And besides presenting myself, I will get the opportunity to thank you for the invitation. It is my great pleasure to be with you today. And I think the most important things that I would like to tell you about myself is that all my career, I have had some experience in industry, and afterwards I went to the academy where I did my master degree and PhD in EPIEM. So as I typically say, I'm a full EPIEM teacher and professional.
Okay, very nice. Thank you for the introduction. Would you also like to introduce already University of Aveiro for the ones that are seeing?
Okay, I can do it. University of Aveiro is a public university. In Portugal, we have typically we distinguish between the old universities and the new ones. And the University of Aveiro is one of the new ones. It exists since 1973. And it is an university that offers typically the 3 degrees, the bachelor degree, the master degree, and the PhD. It is also, it has also some courses linked to the professionals through UNAV, which is the institution that we have inside the University of Aveiro that tackles that kind of offer. And besides, the university has also 4 polytechnic schools. The University of Aveiro is located in the city of Aveiro, and the polytechnic schools, one of them is also at the city of Aveiro, and the remaining ones are nearby, near Aveiro. for those of you that might not know very well or so well Portugal, Aveiro is located in the south of the second biggest city from Portugal, which is Oporto, where I believe Maria is.
Yes.
And Aveiro is located near the sea, near the beach. I have a video to present our university. I will try to share it with you because I think we say that we are visual people, and to have the opportunity to see some images from our university and nearby, I think it could be interesting. Are you seeing?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Let me just check. Okay.
Morro de amor pelas águas da ria. Esta espuma de dor, eu não sabia. Sou moliceiro do teu lodo fecundo. Sou a ria de Aveiro, o sal do mundo. Morro de amor nesta rede que teço, e é no sal do suor que eu aconteço.
Air, water. They come together in the sea-salted lagoon, rocked by the tides and mixed by skilled miners, alchemists of salt. Just as the white crystal is the pillar and cornerstone of Aveiro, teaching, cooperation and innovation are the pillars of its academy. The University of Aveiro surged and flooded into the region, the country, and the world. Interdisciplinary research is also the foundation of the University of Aveiro, in which scientists from many fields share and grow on a campus that brings people together, forming a better future. The University of Aveiro, an innovative pioneer of knowledge sharing with its 90 nationalities, is a gathering point of people from all over the world, a space of different cultures, languages, and worldwide passions. A Tower of Babel, but one that retains a unique language and does not collapse. And always the salt, because this is the University of Aveiro, the University of the people, alchemists of water, earth, and air.
Okay, thank you very much, Karina, for your presentation. Christian, would you like to also present yourself, your university, and EPIEM for the viewers that don't know yet who EPIEM is?
Okay. I'm Cristian Mustața. I am associate professor at the University Polytechnica in Bucharest. It's the biggest technical university in Romania, and it had its 200th birthday moment 2 years ago, so we are 202 years old. 30,000 students, 15 faculties, I think around 180 bachelor degrees, bachelor programs, excuse me, and master programs. I think there are more, so it's a big university. And there I work, I teach in German language in the EPIEM programs that are in German, and I also have one course in English, also in an EPIEM master. I myself, my background, I was an EPIEM student at some point, then I did my PhD with a professor from Darmstadt, from Germany, also in the field of EPIEM. I also studied psychology and sociology because I like what happens with a human being, and it's better to understand when you teach marketing and human resource development and so on, to really understand the human being better. And it's also good to understand yourself, and I'm a believer that we can evolve always. We have this potential to reach incredible things, and it's not something that falls on our lap and we just stand there. I think it's a thing of evolution and of development, and we have the right to evolve and to evolve towards being happy. I don't think evolution should become better and better and more stressed and more stressed. It's a thing to encompass with joy what you do, and then you do it also very good, because if you do what you like, it's happening with less stress and better results. So I believe this is a path that could be good for everybody. I don't know, and I'm trying, but everybody finds it in his or her own way. So this is what drives me. I'm also in EPIEM. EPIEM are the European Professors of Industrial Engineering and Management and the coordinator of Relationship Management and the Network. This means if you want to contact EPIEM, you can do it by contacting me. I'm in the EPIEM Drive group. We try to bring this professors network, this European Professor Network of EPIEM, to develop, to bring new things, new interesting things, positive things for students. This is why we love to work with ESTIEM, and also for the other colleagues and so on. So to have a network of with positive results in our hearts, and we define it somehow as a network of friendship. So this is the base that we wish for in EPIEM, not only something formal, you know.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for introducing EPIEM as well. Corinne, let's hear now about you and also a bit about Inchainge.
Yeah, I would like to share my screen with you. There we go. Hope you can see it.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Well, it's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me here. Not from a university, but working with universities all my time, all my working time. My name is Corinne van der Sloot. I'm Director of International Sales at Inchainge, and I will introduce Inchainge in a moment. Also a supply chain management professional, and I've been with Inchainge now for 5 years, and in the meantime I've also learned a lot about experiential learning and best practices and everything. So I hope my input can also help you to evolve in this. I'm also a senior trainer of our simulations. As mentioned, I've been with Inchainge for 5 years, since 2016. Before that, I've been 10 years at Philips in different positions, both in the Netherlands, but also in Germany. And in total, I have 30 years of experience. Yeah, a little bit about me.
then what I would like to ask you is how did you learn how to ride and balance a bike? How did you learn that? Did you learn that by theory? Did you read a book? Did you watch a video? Yeah, how did you learn about that? About the technical, we are here with industrial engineering students and professors. So did you learn it by reading about the technology, or did you do it like I learned it by doing? And I think you recognize this picture, especially if you still have small children. I would learn it like this. My parents would stand next to me. I would fall. They would catch me. Sometimes I would fall and they wouldn't catch me, but I would learn from that. And in the end, I would be able to ride a bike. And that is exactly what we at Inchange are doing. We develop value chain leaders, but we do that by using business games. And we think that a complex world like we are living in now, it becomes faster and faster. It is increasingly unpredictable. And how do you teach that complexity? In order for students, if they start working, to really deal with this complex world. And we are convinced that this is about experiential learning and using business games. For that, we have developed 3 business games: the Fresh Connection, the Cool Connection, and the Blue Connection. The Fresh Connection is focused on supply chain management, the Cool Connection about the role of finance in the value chain. And one of the educators I work with told me that, Corinne, I want my students to become the best friend of the financial officer. And I think that's a really good purpose. And then we have the Blue Connection about circular economy. And that has my passion as well, because I think we really need to become more circular. And all of that is always about team skills, but also about alignment, how to align on strategies, but also within the chain with other stakeholders. And it's always a real life experience. You don't come any closer to the real world. The next step would be to be in the real world. And it's the cheapest way of making mistakes, if you want to call it that. We have been doing so for over 10 years, 10 years of developing value chain leaders. We celebrated our 10th anniversary last year. And as you can see, we work with universities all over the world. In fact, 43% of the top 100 universities in value chain management or supply chain management operations, they work with our business simulations. So that's something to be very proud of. But also we work with corporates as well. What we really want to share also with you is that a business game is just a tool, and we feel that it's much more than just that tool of the business game. So that's why we started talking in 2019 about an integrated learning approach, and that also involves theory, bringing the theory into practice. So it also involves a textbook. It also involves teaching materials. It involves teaching cases, and so all that together is actually the solution that we offer, and that also goes for the circular economy solution that we have created. Also the business game for that. That's also part of an integrated learning approach. In the meantime, we've called it ED's Principles, because it's also based on a lot of input from Ed Wenk, also writer, author of the books that we published. And in May 2021, we'll also have a textbook on circular economy. So that goes with our game, the Blue Connection. So that was it about Inchange.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for your presentations. It's a pleasure to have you all here. I think that everyone can see through your presentations that we have quite a good panel of experts on experiential learning. And I invite everyone that is watching this right now, if you want to learn more either about the EPIEM, the universities, or Inchange, visit the websites. I'm sure that you will also find a lot of interesting information, and will increase a bit also what you know about these organizations. So to jump in and start the discussions, let's go to a very common topic nowadays. So we all know that COVID has become a constant in one way or another in everyone's lives, and that everyone also had to adapt to it. So the first topic that I would like to ask your views on is, how did COVID-19 affect your teaching and overall the learning experience when you compare it to face-to-face education. So what changes did you notice? How did you try to keep people motivated? What's your view on this big change?
Shall I start on that? Well, I do teaching myself also to students, but I also do trainings for educators, because we offer train the trainers before educators start working with us. But I think the same goes also for teaching students. At first, it was difficult, because we all had to get used to the tools. We of course we all knew Zoom, we all knew MS Teams and everything, but now it's kind of the daily work that we work with those simulations, or that this software. And also we felt in the beginning, oh, this is going to be really bad with the business simulations, because when you're on campus, it's you have the teams together, you work in teams of 4, and it's easier to also see the faces of the students, and you can also relate if they really caught what you wanted to get across. But then we started working with Zoom and with breakout rooms, and we found out that it's actually really a really good way to also work with a business game in an online situation. So of course it is a lot of fun to also see each other in real life and be on a campus. It also has advantages, because I also heard an educator tell me that it was much easier to get all the students back together in the plenary session and the joint session that you have if you work in Zoom, because if they're on campus and they're working in teams, it takes you sometimes time to get them all back together in your classroom, and in Zoom you just push the button and they're back. So that's also so and I must also say that I'm really struck by the way, and have a lot of respect for educators who had to deal with this overnight. And I've written a blog about it, an article about it. What if someone would have got the idea to change to an online teaching environment in like 2 years' time or so? That person would have been, well, that would have been a lot of discussion about it. And now, educators, teaching staff had to do it overnight. So I think, that deserves a lot of respect, I think.
Okay, thank you for your view. Christian or Karina, any of you wants to comment as well?
Yes. In Romania, it really happened overnight. So we had courses till 11th or 10th of March, and one day they announced tomorrow, starting with tomorrow, everything is online. So it was really like overnight. And I must say it's less motivating for everybody not to have this direct contact. So I miss my students. In 11th of March, we make 1 year of everything completely online, so nothing face-to-face. And I miss my students, I must say. And I think for the students that started the study in these conditions, so in October, who never saw their colleagues, it's a bit more challenging. But what I saw in my in the subjects I teach, I also have in one, I use a business simulation game. And there the success was the greatest. So there we could adapt to the online environment in the best way. So they liked it almost as much as they liked it in when it was in the university. And yeah, it's hard to adapt. There are also some elements which I would keep when we come back to the face-to-face teaching, which is something that I think would be very good and positive when the context allows it. But I think it's to try some new ways can always enrich you also when you come back to your main way, let's say, to have it done better, to use these ideas that came during online as improvements and use them also in class, some of them. So I think we must see the positive part and do something better. I think the adaptation in the first semester, when really overnight, was tough. But then the next semester, starting October, we knew what will happen, so we had time to prepare. And I think most of the professors adapted well, but it's not the same thing. So the communication cannot be identical or as good as it was in when you could see your students and when you could I don't know, make you start the dialogue better when you see people, when you guess their state, and you do it better when there is not only a screen. But we must take what is and do the best of it in this online period of our life. And I think when this will end, we can keep the best things to accompany the face-to-face teaching. And yeah, what can I say about simulations, which are maybe a part also of this discussion, is that yeah, my part where I use the simulation was easier to adapt to online compared to the other parts where I had normal courses with PowerPoint and so on. Yeah, okay. That would be my feedback.
That's great to hear. We're also going to go a bit deeper on that on the next couple of questions. Karina, do you also want to share a bit your experience with this big shift to online learning?
Yeah, I would say that this is a path in construction. Last year, when we went home, I would say that we had an emergency teaching. Because like in Romania, overnight we went to the online teaching. And the majority of us was not used to use too much technology in teaching. Although everything was already available, I think this was a great opportunity also to pull us and to make us understand that there are lots of new things that we as a teachers can use in order to make the teaching more exciting from the students' perspective. In the last year, when we went home, now after some months ago that went, I think that my students were really cooperative with me, really nice students. I will be thankful for all the comprehensions that they have, because yes, indeed, when I went home, I somehow simulated or tried to simulate the lessons that I taught them in person. Afterwards, we had August. We had some time to think a bit about the issue, and my university, in a joint cooperation with another university from Portugal, which is University of Minho, organized a program, a training for the teachers. And in that training, we had a training that lasts for 15 days, and we were students again. And in that training, that they taught us many new things related with the teaching, but also how to evaluate students, the kind of evaluation to do, And there were several parts that were linked to, the aim was to prepare us to this new environment, also to full online teaching or the mixed model. In the last semester, in the teaching part, we were in the mixed model, and I could introduce several new things in my classes and in the way that I teach, that I think it were good for the students. But also some of my students told me that we are now changing very rapidly lots of things, lots of new platforms, new softwares to learn, apps for everything. And I think that's why I start saying this is a path in construction. I introduced some new approaches in my course, but I decided to do it smoothly in order, and I think it was a good, I don't know, tomorrow I will have the meeting with my students to get their feedback from the journey, but I think it went good. In this course, I already had the students had a project that is a problem-based assignment with a company. And because of the online system, I had the opportunity to have the people from the company with us for several lessons, to introduce, to give some details about theory, about the challenge they posed to the students. And we were talking about a company that is near Lisboa in Portugal. So it weren't a company from Aveiro. And if I was only in the presence system, maybe the interaction with the company would not be the same. It was a positive thing that I would like to share with you. And the other part, typically, I'm talking about an operations management course, and typically I use some physical games. And that was the part that went bad, because I was not able to use the same games. But what I did was, in a particular game that I think it's very important for them, a game to teach value stream mapping, what we did was we did the simulation. We make some short videos to show the students if we were in the physical system, how we will run the simulation. And then I could taught the tool like I wanted to show. But like Corinne was showing, the students didn't felt, they didn't touch the materials, and I think that is important. And that is a point where I think it's difficult to provide the same experience as if we were at the university. Just to conclude, last year, at the end of the semester, our department sent a questionnaire to our students. And we had a good sample of the EPIEM students that answered the questionnaire. And one important thing that the students told us was they felt dismotivated because they spend too many hours in front of the computer. Other thing that I introduced in this course this year was a part of the lesson. I introduced some individual, I would say, learning. I provide the materials. We have a face-to-face lesson, but typically, if I was at university, I'm talking typically of a 2 hours lesson, and I tried to not be with them the full 2 hours. I did some videos with me explaining parts of the topics, and I introduced some materials that to them to learn at distance alone. And later on, we always I could talk with them about the doubts and so on. And typically in the next lesson, for example, I will with all the group, we will come back to that materials, to that part of lesson. And that was important. And I feel that not only in the lessons, but in my professional life, we don't have time in between the two meetings, for example. And we need that time, and our students, I think they also need that. I think that is I don't know if I'm talking about topics that you would like to discuss later, Maria. I'm sorry for that, but that is I think it was important to tell you that, because the one important thing that I understand for me either, we need to have some free time, and the full day to have if we were in presence the full day in front of the computer, it's not a very good thing.
Yes, definitely. I also agree. I can give my perspective as a student that breaks are very appreciated, and classes that don't take 2 or more hours are also very appreciated. So I completely agree with what you're saying. Yes. I think it is quite interesting that you're already, both you and Christian, also talking about concrete things that you are doing in terms of how to turn it into a good remote experience. I think it would also be very interesting to hear from Inchainge exactly how you are adapting, like everything being online. How are you keeping the trainings going, the simulations going? So yes, it would be great to hear from you, Corinne, on this. And it would also be great if you all could comment the overall efficiency that you feel. So, Karin, you already said that you don't feel it's exactly the same, especially in terms of games, but do you all think it's something that is still effective? So trying to include this game, is it still more effective than the pure classes that would be given either way? Or because it's online, it loses a lot the efficiency and might not be the correct path?
In my perspective and regarding my experience, we also asked students about that. And I think the majority of the students, they like the online teaching. They can see several advantages also from the online teaching. What we need is to somehow try to adapt our way of teaching. We cannot teach in the same way as if we were with students, but I would say that one important thing for me, I believe more in the mixed model. 100% online model. There are always some kind of work that you can do face-to-face that I think the experience will not be the same. But if we can have a mixed model, I think our students love the mixed model. I cannot give you, I cannot say that I'm 100% sure, because I don't have the data, but I have some evidences. And because, for example, in the last semester, every week I had a lesson online and a lesson in person. And typically in the online lesson, we worked more the theory when possible, and in the presence when I was with them, we practiced more the practical part. Obviously, we had any simulation, the kind of physical games I was talking, that is the kind of games that we use, because I think maybe this is not the topic for this question, but I think we really need to do a lot of work, in my opinion, in what regards the simulation games, because I don't think they are full available to every student. Some of those games, even they are great games, for example, for our reality in Portugal, we don't have the money to pay that money for to use them, and that is a kind of problem. Despite of that, there are several examples that I typically find, and I try to find some free games. And although there are some good games available that are free, I feel some difficulties regarding that topic, to find really good games that are available and that I can freely use them with my students. Typically, I have that constraint, I would say.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, maybe I can say something about that. Yeah, well, definitely interesting to discuss that in further detail, Corina. But yeah, what I see is that we host train the trainers for educators. What I see is that we wanted to convert to online trainings already, because our problem was that we are working with educators all over the world, professors from France, from Germany, from the US, everywhere. And it was always very difficult to find one location, one physical location where we could host a training. And although all universities that we worked with, they were all very kind and to offer us a classroom where we could host those trainings, it was always difficult to find the right location. And now where it is online, it's much simpler, because you don't have to travel. So it's much easier. So the attendance to our trainings is higher. So there's more interest now, the interest was there, but it was always difficult to find the right location. And timing can still be a problem, but at least the location is very easy, and nobody needs to travel, nobody needs to make expenses for that. I also see that with my children, for instance, who are studying, that they feel it's really convenient for them to spend time at home and to have online classes, because they don't have to travel. That saves them time. It saves them costs of traveling. So I think what education is going to, and I also hope that, because I also think for the environment, it's also good that we travel less, also in companies, especially in companies, I would say. But I think that, and I hope that teaching will go that direction, that on-campus teaching or education will be focused more on interaction, the real interaction, the physical interaction between people, like having discussions. That's very difficult when we're online. Also now, we cannot talk through each other all together, so discussions are pretty difficult. So all those parts of education where it's essential to see each other, to see faces, also what Christian mentioned, to also see if to also read the students, that will and then the other parts can be done remotely. So I also heard someone in the Netherlands say here recently, also in companies, that a lot of people would travel to their company to go and sit behind their office, behind their computer to read emails and to answer emails. And they would have to go to the office, but they could also do that from home, and that would be a bit more convenient for them. But their bosses would say, they wouldn't trust them or so, because if they see them, they feel that they're working. And now it proves that now people are working online and working from home, that they're very dedicated, and that there's not much loss in efficiency, or even I can imagine if you're working with children from home, that's more difficult, I guess. And we also see a similar part happening with corporate trainings, where corporate trainings were kind of cancelled last year, 1 year ago. Corporate trainings, professional trainings were cancelled because most professional trainings were done on site in corporate. And we now also see that switch also from corporates also to online trainings, and I think that's a very good cause, because they will limit travel expenses, the traveling, so that will definitely be benefit the climate and the circular economy, I think. So yeah.
Great. And do you think that it is still effective, the shift from the presential trainings in the companies and shifting it to online? Do you feel like it's still effective, the training?
Yeah, I spoke to one of our partners in Germany recently, because they had very good ideas on Zoom meetings. They also when they do their training, when they host their trainings, they now have a kind of production person who is behind and to or behind the screens, and who is taking care of the whole session. So the trainer himself or herself, she only needs to take or she can fully focus on the training, and she doesn't have to be or he doesn't have to be aware of the technique around it, creating Zoom meetings or Zoom breakout rooms or whatever. So that is very convenient. Yeah. So, and I also asked her, do you think that this will continue in the future like this in a remote setting? And she felt that way, and especially in global companies, global value change, where you are working from Germany, for instance, with someone in Portugal or in Bucharest, or so you have to. Yeah, you need to get used. Also, students need to get used to setting up online conferences, like also with our simulations, our business games. One of the things is also the soft skills that they learn of they have to find a moment, they have to plan that, to find a moment to have a management meeting, an online management meeting in the game. So they have to plan for that, and they have to make sure that everything is in order, that the technique is there, that their laptop is charged, things like that, like everything. So that's also also part of the learning journey, I would say. Yeah,
is like all the logistics associated with online meetings.
Exactly. Yeah, that's also part of the learning. Yeah,
indeed. Christian, what's your feedback about your experiences with remote learning? Effective, not effective? Did you manage to do the experiential learning you'd like to have to your students, or doesn't it work online for you?
Some things work. I would say almost as good as in presence, and some things I do my best, but it's not coming nearly enough. It's very convenient, of course. You don't have to go away. Everybody is from home, but this can also sometimes affect the way students are present in what happens there. So you have the teaching part, and they must be sometimes active, and when you have direct contact, it's easier to make them active in an intuitive way. When you are online, some people you need to really oblige, I don't know, to drag them to speak. Sometimes there are technical difficulties, and yes, some people cannot be heard. The microphone is not working properly or so. Such things we didn't have when we were meeting directly. But so I say it's not as good as in presence, definitely from my point of view. Teaching for me is also a, I don't know, it's a personal thing somehow. I really, we have small groups where I teach, because we teach in German language, and German language is not a language in Romania where you have a big classroom with 200 people, you know. So my groups are 30, 50, or sometimes 10, and so on. So because of these small numbers, maybe I work with people individually, and in these MS Teams meetings and Zoom meetings and so on, of course you can work, but somebody says my camera doesn't work, and if that person is just lazy, you cannot check. Maybe the camera doesn't work, so you cannot say you have to, because else I punish you, or it's not my style in any way to force things. And so I like it more in person, definitely, but in the time when you need to make it online, it's stupid to cry about face-to-face that you would wish to be. It's better to do the best in this case, and I'm 80% happy with what happened in our online, in my online teaching, and with my students in their online learning. But I miss the personal contact. So I think it's not from the point of view of our soul, of our heart, is not the same. From our brain, it can be very close, because the information is on the screen. So practically, if you take it with a cold heart, everything is there, is no need to meet. But my heart feels it's not the same. So
someone told me recently, an educator, and he told me, hey, Corinne, I didn't become an educator, a professor, to do online teaching. I became an educator because I love being at the campus with students. And yeah, I think that covers it also, yeah.
I think in the end, it's also something that we all feel, both educators and students, that it's of course not the same, but it's still good, and it's still effective, at least in some of the tools that are being used.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to shift a bit the topic now. So I don't know as if you also have this perception, but at least in ESTIEM, we can clearly see that there is a trend of increasing interest on what is experiential learning and new methods to be used both in universities or inside associations. But I wanted to ask, from your experience and from your perspective, would you say that usually university management is up to supporting this kind of initiatives, especially when there is a possible barrier of the tools being paid and then being used only from some professors, not for others? All these kind of logistics around trying to create new teaching methodologies or trying to create new things inside subjects. What is the view of the people in charge over these kind of new initiatives?
yes, I would like to answer with a joke, you know, as long as you don't want any money, you can do whatever you wish. No problem. I want to experience that. Yes, do it. But you know that simulation costs 10,000 euro. In this case, you know, we must think about and with smaller amounts, it's the same thing. So I experienced 9 months as a vice dean. Today is my first day where I'm again only professor. I needed to quit because it was too stressful, and the degree of things that I could realize was small, and the sacrifices, including health, was too big. and I have small children, so I took a step back. But not only from this time, also from my time as a professor. As long as financial costs are not implied, everybody gives you pretty high degrees of freedom. In the moment where money is involved, then you have to be careful, you know, then restrictions start to come, and so then it begins not to be as free as it was when you said, yeah, I can manage with my own resources or somehow. Yeah, I don't know if I answered the question. Maybe
Yes.
this was the idea. Okay.
It was just to overall try to understand if professors have a high degree of freedom in terms of proposing, for example, new tools to be used, or if there is this kind of barrier, either because maybe a lot of innovation is not something that is desired because it implies changing maybe the subjects or creating a big gap between the way that some subjects are being delivered and how others are being. If there is this financial restraint, just understanding overall, because we as students, we don't have access to this perspective. So trying to understand what is, let's say, going on the backstage when professors are also faced with this kind of possibilities. So what kind of things do you need to wait when you are trying to do something new, or what kind of barriers do you face?
I can tell you a small real story. So I'm using a simulation today of management, general management simulation. And when I first played it, I was a young assistant, and I played it once, and I said, wow, this is awesome. Then in 1 year, I played it the second time, and at that time I was asked to do the concept of a master program. So I'm also the head of the master programs in German language here. And I said, that simulation I want to have in my master program. It's too awesome, too good. Let's find a solution. And I began to bargain with the company. It was TopSim, and I managed to go down to 6,000 euro. They had it for 20, but for universities only 10. And I said, but we are a small department. We will use it 2 times per year maximum. And could you give us a limited thing, but cheaper? And 6,000. And I didn't manage to convince people in the university, I mean the people who decide about the money, that and I tried with company. For a software in Romania, we have also this thing that software, I don't know, trial versions and so on should be free. And when I said, if I ask for books, I don't know, they can say, okay, we talk 6,000, but then they give you 3,000 and you buy only one part of the books and you are happy. But with the software, you can have it all or nothing. So I didn't manage to make 6,000 euro work to buy a software. It was also really at some point the question, for a software? Okay. And at the end, we were lucky. There was a foundation that had this simulation, and they had a trainer from Germany coming. And when he retired, they said, we will not use it anymore because we have no person. So if you as a university would like, and they made a gift of it. So we got it for free in the end.
Wow.
And I was very happy, you know. But it is this struggle when there are resources. If it's something cheap and you put some money from your pocket, you just do it and you forget about it and you are happy that you can implement. But when there are such sums with, I don't know, thousands of euro, then you knock your head towards this wall and you would like to break it and to get the money flowing. But I didn't manage till now.
At least you got it for free. So
yes,
for you, for you, it
was my experience. It was luck, and it was very good.
Yeah, I see it also, of course, from my daily work. It can sometimes be very difficult. It also depends per university. Sometimes the professor has a lot of influence and can decide. Sometimes it's up to the program director or even the board of the university. I also noticed that there's different budgets. So budgets for teachers or professors, that's a certain budget, and that budget is fairly big, I would say, or fairly that's a vast budget. And then there's of course the budget for the tools, and there's software budget. So there's different budgets. So it depends on what budget you can approach. I also know that in Germany, for instance, there's also quite some budget available for digitization, also from the government point of view, to digitization in education. So it could also be part of that. But I do see in the course of the years, if 5 years ago, the hurdles were higher, I would say. The hurdles are lower now for implementing business games, and especially I think now with remote teaching, I think a lot of universities now realize that to motivate, to activate students, to engage them, you need more than just teaching online students. What you also mentioned, Maria, 2 hours behind your screen, or a session of 2 hours, a lecture of 2 hours, that's more than enough. And I also see that in online meetings, half an hour to an hour meetings, that's more than enough. Then we're all kind of getting tired of that. So, but in the same time, I also see educators who used to work with our simulations when they were on campus, who now are a bit afraid to use the business game online. So you also see the other way around. So that's also happening. So, getting that into the university, I think indeed what you say, Christian, if it's for free, of course, then it's easy. But it's unfortunately it's not for free. Yeah, we also have our development times, of course, and our company to hold up. Although we only have a team of 18 people, still, it cannot be done for free. Yeah, unfortunately.
Maybe I can add from what Christian said. The money is obviously an issue, but also the time, and this is very demanding. Typically, I say that in order to introduce some innovation in the teaching, I think this really needs to be a team effort, because otherwise it gets very difficult. Sometimes students don't have that perception, but the teachers do many different activities and have several responsibilities. And when we are talking about experiential learning by doing and so on, it takes time to prepare things, but it also takes a lot of time to coordinate, to have coordination and to maintain things. And I think that is a problem nowadays. I think the university boards in general, I think they are really open to introduce some innovation in the teaching. I just told you the experience that this university board at University of Aveiro now, and this started prior to the COVID-19. They are doing a great effort to motivate teachers to do it. They are providing us for free some formation, some training, and that is really important, because to do the path by yourself, it will be much more difficult, even though it is really hard, because everything is very demanding in our profession. We need to combine the teaching with research, and the research is a very demanding and important task for every university teacher. But I think with some, if people is open and willing to doing, this is a team effort. We are not going to change everything from one year to the next one, but I think universities in general are doing their part. And obviously the situation we are facing now greatly pushed us to that and improved the it was really a huge motivation to do that.
So what I see, oh, sorry, go ahead.
To conclude, Maria, I think universities are very open to do it, but we have here two really important issues to tackle. The research, we need the time resource, and we need obviously also some money. I can tell you, for example, but we can also try to be creative. Okay, creativity is really important. Right now, I have a team of students from Aveiro, the EPIEM, which is the students union from University of Aveiro, that they are providing to the course, to the program, some money for free to apply in a lab. And this is from some of the events that I organized with them, but also from their effort throughout the years. And when they understood that we have some issues, some problems, one of them is obviously the money, all of them, one's more than the others, but all of them face that problem. And we have now a team that is discussing how we are going to apply that money. For me as a student, to know that I contributed somehow to my colleagues that will come in the future, and we are obviously I hope that we will find ways to use well that money, and obviously we will try to introduce innovation and more experience to give our students have more experiential learning. And that is maybe a way. Other way is that it's not easy, but other way, maybe we can try to find some financing through Erasmus Plus, an Erasmus Plus project, for example. It's not easy. It takes too much time. It's true, but I think we are doing. We are giving some paths in that way also.
Okay, great.
What I see a lot currently is that the exchange programs cannot take place, or internships cannot take place with companies. And what I see now with some universities, they bundle their forces and they set up a virtual exchange program, an internationalization at home, and they use a game for that. And since the games are web-based, a university in Finland can work together with a university in the Netherlands or in Portugal, and they can play together, and they still have this intercultural exchange. So part of that program is now in this case about the Blue Connection, about circular economy, but they also have some team exercises on cultural aspects, and they have to do some presentation, they have to do some networking, also in Zoom with breakout rooms. So that is a very powerful way to make use of business games, and you could do that with just a couple of students in international project, and get some experience also with new business games, for instance. So that might be an idea. And also what I see is electives on a specific topic, on finance or on value chain management, or also on circular economy, and where universities spend like 2 days or 3 days specifically on circular economy. they make use of a game. So it's all integrated. So there's a company that hosts a presentation about circular economy. There's a startup that introduces a nice product that they have created, and then they play a round of the game, and so and they do some presentations, and that's also a very nice and interactive way, and also to engage the students. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Do you also have experience with that, or Christian, Karina? Are you also doing things like that as an alternative to internships or to exchanges?
Regarding the internships, so far we were fully able to maintain them. Our students are in companies because although some of them are doing remote work, the majority of them are doing their internship. In terms of exchange programs, it reduced, but now I have several of my students that are abroad also. But we also at the university, we are part of a network of universities, and we are what you were telling us, Corinne. We are doing that mostly through that program, which is SU University. But we are developing. This is the second year, I would say, that we are using more, and I believe in the future much more. But it is not something that I would say that is established. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In my university is pretty much the same. So the internships took place because they are mandatory. So despite online or not online, people did their internships. We have the internships in the summer usually, and this year they were allowed to stretch that period also during the whole academic year. But most of the students did their internships, and the exchanges, Erasmus exchange and other exchanges, they dropped heavily because they are not mandatory. So we have less, and some countries have restrictions and so on, and the students are afraid of being quarantined for 2 weeks somewhere and so on. So the risks are higher, and this is why the numbers dropped. But there are some students also from our university abroad, and we have Erasmus students I had in my course where I used that simulation that I talked to you about. I had, I think, 8 Portuguese students. They were very nice.
Oh, that's nice.
Very active, and
it's good to know. We are giving a good name also internationally.
yes.
Okay, so we entered in the last 15 minutes, and we have a couple of questions from students on the live stream. So let's see if we can hopefully still answer 2 of them. So one of the questions was, do you think gamification and simulation are valuable to learn specific topics such as supply chain, or any topic in general? Why is that?
Yeah, I'm convinced of that, and I also see that in practice, of course. Complex problems or complex topics like supply chain management, value chain management, but also finance and also circular economy. I think it's really powerful to learn that by doing, and to what I, for instance, also learned a lot about when I started working with the Fresh Connection. I had a pretty thorough background in supply chain management already, But every time I play the game, I make different decisions. Because we don't have like an example of how you play the game. It's a real life simulation. So every time I play the game, I do different things. And I still learn after 5 years. I still learn new things when I play the game. And you get a kind of helicopter view of you touch all the aspects of the company, and you constantly have to make trade-offs. If I change something in purchasing, then it has influence on in the production area, or if I promise more to my customers, then that has an influence on purchasing, or on you really learn about getting rid of the silo thinking, that you really have to work together as a team. You have to align, you have to have a strategy, and if you have a strategy, make sure that you align that strategy together. And also what I also see in practice is I get it back a lot from educators and also from students. A lot of students tell us it was one of the best experiences in my life. I got so much out of that, and it taught me so much. So if I hear that, then yeah, we have reached our objectives.
I totally agree. I had the same feedback. So the students are amazed by gamification. So it is, the motivation grows a lot exponentially, I would say. They like it, and unlike in real life, they don't lose the money they invested or the house or something. So they can learn also from mistakes without being somehow financially ruined. And if they win, they are double happy, of course. So it's and they learn a lot. So I really did research on this area. So I not only had the teaching, I did research. I took feedback each year, and the sample of feedbacks grew and grew from one year to the other. And then I did research. I published on this area, and really the learning is amazing. So from the perspective of the students, so not what I think as a professor, but what the participants think. They say it's awesome, and they say they developed skills in a fantastic way. So this is what we wish. This is why we do education. So I believe
exactly. Yeah.
Corinne, totally.
Thank you, Christian.
Maria, do you want me to add something?
If you want, otherwise we can also take a second question from the live stream.
In a minute, I would say that is an excellent option or alternative to a learning factory. And indeed, you would never have the money to teach everything through a learning factory. So we can do a mix. And obviously, when combined with theory, and when you include reflection, time for reflection, which in my opinion is very, not in every simulations that I already participated, we had enough time to that part of reflection. And for me, it's quite an important aspect. If it is there, I totally agree that it can be very an excellent option to experience things.
Yeah, I agree, Karina. That the debrief, the reflection part, that is where the learning is done, and then the students conceptualize again, and they bring it into practice again, and yeah, that's where the learning is done. So we also have educators that say, oh, I can let my students play themselves, and I always say no, you have to do a debrief. That's important. Yeah.
Great. So I think we can still try to take one more question from the live stream. There is one that is actually quite interesting. So a person asked, how can we measure the success and effectiveness of the methods? And I think it's interesting to look at this also in the sense of, do you use your simulations also as an evaluation? Because usually subjects are evaluated through exams. That's like the most typical evaluation method that there is. The one that most students, the only one that most students know, unfortunately. So like, how can you measure if a person actually learn?
Yeah, well, what we always say is that don't let the game be the grade. You know, if they reach a return on investment of 14% or so, don't grade them just on the game, because it's much more than the game. So what we always recommend is to let the students do a presentation, or let them predict a certain outcome. If they take a decision, let them predict what is the outcome, because predictability is also very important. Currently, we've also added data analytics to our simulations, so that the students have to work with the data from the simulations, and they have to make exercises with that. They have to do calculations and also storytelling and visualizations with that. So the grade, if they really captured what you want to teach them, or if they really learned what you want to get across, yeah, that could be an examination. What we also do is we can add a questionnaire in the game that is about the Belbin roles. Don't know if you know that, but that's about team roles. So the students can say something about the other team members, what kind of role they pick in the game. And what we also do is we also, at the end of the game, we also ask the students, would you recommend this to other students? Would you how was your experience, and would you recommend it also to others? So those are a few things. And yeah, like you, Christian, and Karina, we also have other educators that do research with the outcome, that have evaluations, that they questionnaires that they give to their students, and they get feedback on that. So that's also part of it. Yeah. But of course, if you're working with a business game and you're working within teams, then of course there's always, like I mentioned, the Belbin roles. There's also always different roles in a team. And yeah, there's usually a few of the team members that are very active, and others can be more passive. Yeah, so yeah, so it's not just the game; it's more that you want to grade them on in the end. Yeah. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Otherwise, I can.
I think so. Yes.
Yes, I think Corinne touched the main points. I just can add that sometimes we also include some questions regarding the simulations in the exams that students do either. But otherwise, we do it through questionnaires, and also through putting them to present what they have been working on.
Yeah. And of course, you can add a lot of creativity also to business games, because what we also do outside of the game is when we have a global student challenge final or so, what we also have every year, is that we let them select logistic service providers, for instance, by talking to like kind of actors. Those are always people from our own team. But then they have to, the purchasing manager has to come to us and has to discuss with us which logistic service provider they want to use, and they can discuss with us and negotiate. And so outside of the game, you can also do a lot of things, and then you can add business cases to it, and you can let them explore the internet about risk management. What has happened recently in the field of risk management, for instance, or there's so much other things that you can do around the whole course. But yeah, you know much better than I, because you are professors yourselves. But yeah, I like that creativity. That's what I wanted to ask you also. Do you think there's more pressure on you now in the COVID situation, where you need to make your courses more interesting for students? Is that something that you recognize, Christian or Karina? To keep the attention of the students, do you have to make your courses more interesting?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the pressure is there. And like any pressure, it brings space for improvement. So it's a good thing in this case. And with the grading, for example, in my course, usually the exam has the most points, and some things you do during the semester are also important, but less than the exam. But in this course about entrepreneurship and management, where I use the simulation is 50%, and the other components, exam is 25, and other assignments 25. Because I think this experiential learning is somehow the most important. So the way they understand and tackle almost real situation is important. So I think it is worth being graded with a lot of weight.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
Karina, are you also going to comment on this one?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So I think we reached our time limits. We still had 2 questions from the live stream. So if you don't mind, I would ask you if I could email them to you so that we can also send them to our students that were requesting them, so that we can also maybe publish it, your answers on the YouTube video that will be available for all students to check, because I believe not everyone that was interested had the chance to see it live. So we want to leave it there for anyone that wants to also learn more about experiential learning on the future. So overall, I want to thank you very much for giving us your time to be here with us for this small roundtable. And I hope you also enjoy.
Yeah, maybe I can say something more, Maria. On Saturday, we
Yes,
will
of
also
course.
host 2 sessions about the Blue Connection, so our business game on circular economy. So we are gonna show also the business game there. So if you would like to join, then yeah, very welcome to join.
Thank you very much. And yes, I invite everyone to go to the session of the Corinne on Wednesday on the IEM conference on Saturday. I'm sorry.
Saturday it is. Yeah.
Exactly, it's Saturday. Sorry,
Yeah.
It's already getting late.
Yeah.
And yes, thank you very much for being here. I hope that we can also do something similar in the future about other topics, maybe. If I think that the feedback will also be very good overall from our students. So yeah, once again, thank you very much. It was very valuable, your presence here. And I hope that everyone that is seeing this also at home also enjoyed a lot this last hour and a half. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you.
See you.
Thank you. Bye.